Last month, I had 4 strange encounters while driving home that I still can't explain. I'm 36 and work in an office. Every evening, I drive the same back road to my small town. It's usually dull, just tall grass and thick bushes. But things changed. One evening, I was extra tired after working extra shifts. The sun was setting and it was getting dark. I was driving slow when I saw something in my peripheral vision. It looked like a figure near this old barn. I slowed down to see better. My heart raced and I felt cold. But before I could figure it out, it vanished. I told myself I was just tired and imagining things. The next night, I drove the same route again. It was darker. When I passed an old bridge, I thought I saw the figure again, but it was moving. I blinked, unsure if it was just the shadows playing tricks. The trees felt heavy around me, like they were watching. I stopped, gripping the wheel so tight, but my body felt tense. A couple days later, I pulled into a gas station on that same road. As I was filling up, I glanced at my side mirror, and there it was again, a fleeting shadow. I jumped, and my heart felt like it was going to burst. I wanted to look back, but I couldn't. I finished pumping the gas and rushed back to my car. I felt something clawing at my back. I drove home fast at night, my thoughts racing. The shadows in my rearview mirror seemed to dance, and confusion washed over me. Later that week, I drove past the dilapidated barn again. The figure was there, closer this time. It was definitely a person, I thought. My gut dropped as I slammed on the brakes. But just like before, the figure was gone. Was it another trick? I wanted to scream, "Who are you?" but my words got stuck. Now, my daily rides had become a nightmare. I looked for the figure, but dreaded seeing it. Late at night, I could feel it there, creeping behind me whenever I pulled into my driveway. Was it just my tired mind or something else? My heart raced every time I thought about it. Then one night, it happened again. I drove by the thicket and saw it standing there, staring right at me. My heart raced. As I drove past, I heard a voice whisper my name. I couldn't believe it. Was it real? I didn't stop. I just kept going. But fear wrapped around me like a blanket. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The darkness felt thicker, and those encounters kept replaying in my mind. I finally arrived home, glancing back at the road, hoping to see nothing. Whatever it was, it felt like it was watching me, like it knew who I was. Now I drive that road every day with a heavy heart. Can't explain what I saw, but I know the figure is out there, and it feels like it's waiting for me to come back. The next week, I took a different route home. I thought it might help me forget about the figure, the whispers, the unease. So instead of the back road, I drove along the main street. Fewer trees, more light. But something felt off. I could still hear the echoes of my previous encounters, haunting the edges of my thoughts. As I approached a small diner, I spotted a group of people outside. They looked lively, laughing and chatting. I pulled over, hoping a distraction would ease the gloom swirling in my mind. The neon sign flickered, and my stomach growled. A coffee and a slice of pie sounded perfect. Walking towards the entrance, I noticed their laughter wane as I approached. I brushed it off as nerves, but it felt odd. Once inside, I grabbed a booth by the window. The waitress gave me a sympathetic smile as she took my order. "Long day?" she asked. I nodded, suddenly aware of how drained I felt. As I waited, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. My skin crawled. I glanced around the diner, locking eyes with a couple sitting in the corner. They both looked at me like they recognized me, fear tugging at their features. "Do you live around here?" one of them asked, curiosity mixing with concern. "Yeah, just down the road," I replied, avoiding specifics. Somehow it felt safer. Then their eyes widened. "You drive the back road, don't you, near the barn?" Panic rose in my throat. "You've seen it too, haven't you?" I didn't respond, but their expressions confirmed my worst fears. They knew. Be careful, the woman warned, leaning closer. It's not just a trick of the light, it's real. It watches. Before I could speak, my coffee arrived. I tried to focus on it, but the weight of their words suffocated me. My mind raced, searching for other explanations, but deep down, I knew they were right. After finishing my slice of pie, I paid and hurried out, my heart quickening as I stepped back into the cool evening air. A glance toward the back road. The diner's lights faded, and shadows crawled across the pavement like an impending storm. I decided to head back home through the main road again. Yet, the voices of the couple clung to me. I could still feel their unsettling presence even as I drove further away. It felt almost like an omen. Finally, I turned onto my street. My headlights cut through the dark, illuminating the familiar path. As I neared my driveway, a chill ran down my spine. Then I saw it, standing in the thicket, that elusive figure. It was clearer now, not just a shadow. It was definitely a person, and they were watching me. My heart seized in my chest. I blinked, and suddenly it was gone. But I was no longer asking whether I was imagining it. I knew now. Just as I pulled into my driveway and turned off the engine, my phone buzzed. I fumbled for it, my hand shaking. The message read, "Don't go alone." I froze. Who was it? How did they know? The air felt electric with fear. I had to find out who had sent the message, but the figure loomed larger in my mind. What did it want from me? I looked up from my phone, feeling the weight of eyes on me again. I had to know. I couldn't just ignore this. But something deep inside told me, whatever answers awaited me would lead to something far darker than I could imagine. I couldn't shake the feeling of dread as I stepped onto my porch. The shadows in my yard shifted, playing tricks on my mind. Every rustle in the bushes felt like it was taunting me, as if something was waiting for me to make the wrong move. I took a deep breath and opened my front door. The familiar creak of the hinges comforted me, but I left the light off. I needed silence. I tiptoed toward the kitchen, hoping a glass of water would calm my racing heart. The click of the fridge sounded loud in the stillness. I filled a glass, but my hands trembled as I brought it to my lips. Suddenly, I heard a noise outside, a low rustling, punctuated by an occasional snap of a twig. My heart raced. Was it the figure, or something worse? I leaned closer to the window, straining to see as my breath fogged the glass. Then I saw it again. A fleeting glimpse of movement at the edge of my yard. I squinted, forcing my mind to wrap around reality. It was too dark to make out anything definitive, but the fear in my gut made it clear I wouldn't be able to ignore it. I reached for my phone, my fingers hovering as I debated texting a friend. But instead, I called the number for the diner. Maybe the couple had left and someone could shed more light on what I'd seen. The ringing felt endless, echoing in the quiet. "Hello?" A weary voice answered. I opened my mouth to speak, but words wouldn't come. It took me a moment to remember why I had called. I was just in there. The couple, they warned me about something. Do you know them? There was a pause. Which couple? I described them, hoping for something that would anchor me. There was a rustling on the other end, as if the person was shifting uncomfortably. I don't recall anyone like that. My stomach dropped. Do you remember anyone else? Anything strange happening in the area? They've all seen it, but they won't talk, he finally muttered. Whatever you think you saw, keep away from the woods at night. Just don't go back. The line went dead. I stood there, stunned. Every instinct screamed at me to listen, but I felt drawn to the woods, as if something was calling me. How could I ignore it? I hung up, my thoughts racing. I needed answers. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. "You saw it, didn't you?" The voice was breathless, urgent. "You need to dig deeper. It's not going away." "Who is this?" I barked. but there was only silence on the other end. As I hung up, I heard the rustling sound again outside, louder this time, closer. I glanced toward the back door, the darkness beyond, waiting, hungry. My heart pounded as I weighed my options. I was tired of running. I needed to confront this. Gathering my courage, I slipped on my shoes and grabbed a flashlight. There was no turning back now. Before I opened the back door, I heard a sharp intake of breath behind me. I spun around, but there was nothing. I wasn't alone. That's when I saw it, a flash of light in the woods, flickering like a beacon. The light pulsed, and my curiosity peaked, mixing with my fear. I could feel the tension beneath my skin, urging me to turn back. But something deeper pulled me toward the woods. Was it foolish bravery or reckless curiosity? I couldn't tell anymore. I stepped outside onto the cold grass, the damp air hitting my face. With each step toward the light, branches crackled underfoot, and the rustling whispers of leaves danced around me. The flashlight beam flickered, fighting against the darkness. I pointed it toward the woods, heart thudding like a drum. As I approached the tree line, the light vanished. I halted, squinting into the thick blackness. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. Silence enveloped me, thick and suffocating. Then I heard it, a low growl, something primal echoing from the shadows. I froze, pulse racing, clenching my flashlight so tightly my knuckles turned white. That wasn't just my imagination. I turned around, ready to bolt, but another sound caught my attention. A child's laughter? In the middle of the night? It felt wrong, like a mirage. The laughter drifted further into the woods, beckoning me. I teetered between two reactions, flee or follow. Adrenaline pushed me forward again. I could barely breathe. With every ounce of resolve, I inched closer. The growling returned, low and menacing. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, to forget whatever game I was playing. But I remembered the phone call, the urgency in that unknown voice. If there was something out here, I had to uncover it. I had to know if it was real. I pushed deeper into the underbrush, the trees towering above me like ancient sentinels. Just when I thought I couldn't bear the tension any longer, I spotted something on the ground. A small, worn teddy bear lay half buried in the dirt, its fur damp, eyes wide. A chill ran through. I reached down to pick it up, brushing away the dirt and leaves. "What happened here?" I whispered, unease pooling in my stomach. Then the laughter returned, louder this time, echoing around me. I turned toward the sound, but it seemed to come from all directions. There wasn't just one child, it felt like a chorus. Each giggle pierced through my skin, chilling me to the core. Before I could think, I turned to retreat, feeling trapped by the laughter growing in intensity. Just then, the light flickered back, illuminating a figure standing behind a tree. My heart plummeted as I tried to make out the details, but they were obscured in the shadows. The laughter fell silent. "Help me," a voice whined, soft and desperate. My breath caught in my throat, and I stumbled, unsure if I should step forward or flee back to my home. Everything fell eerily quiet. The woods felt like they were closing in, a thick fog of dread wrapping around me. I needed to get out. I needed to get back to safety. But as I turned, I felt the figure's eyes on me, pressing me to look back. That's when I saw them. A wave of pale faces appearing in the darkness, watching, waiting. I inhaled sharply, my body instantly responding to the panic surging within me. There were more figures now. Then, everything went dark. I jolted awake, the ground pressing against my back. My flashlight lay a few paces away, flickering weakly, creating fleeting shadows among the trees. I scrambled to my feet, heart racing. The figures were gone, as if they had never existed, but the dread sat heavy in my chest. I wasn't sure how long I'd been out, but the air felt different now, charged, like a storm was brewing. The laughter that had surrounded me faded into an oppressive silence, and all I could hear was the cautious rustle of leaves. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it into the dark depths of the woods, hoping to catch a glimpse of something, anything. I took a few hesitant steps forward, but my instincts screamed at me to flee. My mind was a kaleidoscope of fear and confusion. What had just happened? Was I dreaming, or had I lost my mind? The previous night echoed in my ears like a warning. The child's voice still surfaced, pleading for help. I needed to find a way out. I turned back the way I came, scanning for any sign of the path I had followed. Anxiety washed through me at the thought of those pale faces, hidden in the dark, watching me. I could feel them, lurking just out of sight, the presence of those figures weighing on my sanity. Then my flashlight flickered stronger again, and the beam caught movement to my right. I froze, squinting into the darker shadows. A flash of white and a quick glimpse of a figure, a child, small and delicate, darting around a tree. "Hey!"
shouted, my voice cracking. "Wait!" The child paused, turning just enough for me to see wide, sunken eyes, almost too old for such a youthful face. Then, without a word, they twisted away and fled deeper into the woods. Panic flooded me again. I had to follow. Maybe they could lead me back, or at least help me make sense of this madness. I took off, dodging branches and low-hanging limbs as I chased after the fleeting figure. The laughter rose like a ghostly sound echoed in the distance. "Stop!" I yelled, but my voice vanished into the night. As I rounded a large tree, I caught sight of the child standing still just ahead. The moonlight shimmered off something in their hand. It was another toy, a small wooden whistle, gleaming strangely compared to the darkness surrounding us. Panic clawed at my throat. What did it mean? My breath quickened as I stepped closer. "Please, I began, but when I looked up, the child was gone. Had they vanished like before? My heart raced as myriad questions flooded me. Then I heard something else, a different sound. Laughter again, but this time it felt darker, like the woods themselves were laughing at me. Suddenly, a sharp snapping noise behind me broke me from my frantic thoughts, and I turned quickly. Standing there was another figure, tall, shadowy, and unmistakably sinister. "Help me," the voice beckoned, returning. I stumbled back, feeling the terror clawing at every inch of my being. Then, everything went dark again. I gasped as I found myself lying on the ground once more, the cool earth pressing uncomfortably against my back. I had no idea how long I had been out, but now I was shivering both from fear and the chill seeping into my bones. A low hum buzzed in my ears, growing louder, twisting into an unnatural melody. Panic surged again. I pushed myself up, eyes darting around the darkened forest. The figures were gone, but the feeling of being watched lingered. I tried to shake off the dread, reminding myself to stay calm and focused. I needed to escape this place. My flashlight flickered weakly, barely illuminating the chaos of twisted roots and branches. I turned it off for a moment, hoping my eyes would adjust to the darkness. As I struggled to find my bearings, a distant rustle caught my attention. It wasn't just the wind, it was something else. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. No response, just silence and the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then I noticed a glint of moonlight reflecting off something ahead of me. My instincts pulled me forward. I walked cautiously toward the light, my breath hitching with every cautious step. I was almost there when I tripped over a gnarled root and hit the ground hard. Swearing under my breath, I picked myself up, shaking dirt from my hands. That's when I saw it, a small clearing framed by tall trees, and
The center stood an old, rusty playground. The swings creaked gently despite the stillness. A chill crawled down my spine. I approached cautiously, the eerie atmosphere weighing on me like a heavy cloak. As I stepped into the clearing, the whispers returned, swirling around me like an unseen storm. "Help me," echoed faintly, and my stomach sank. I scanned the area, hoping for any sign of life. Suddenly, I noticed something shiny half buried in the dirt beneath one of the swings. I bent down and pulled it out. It was the whistle from before, worn and scratched. I felt my fingers grow cold as I clenched it tight. Why was this here? Before I had time to think, a shriek cut through the night. It was a child's voice, terrified and desperate. "Help me! Help me!" I jumped back, pulse racing. The sound was coming from the shadows behind the twisted slide. I hesitated, torn between the instinct to run and the urge to investigate. "Is anyone there?" I croaked, my voice barely a whisper. The shadow seemed to pulse, and then, from nowhere, the child appeared again, the same small figure I had seen before. "You have to help!" they cried, their voice twisted with panic. "Where?" I stammered, but they were already moving, running past me and deeper into the woods. I followed, heart pounding in a mix of fear and urgency. But the moment I stepped out of the clearing, I felt a jolt of electricity in the air. A low growl reverberated from the darkness, cutting off my breath. I turned to look back at the playground, which now felt impossibly distant, the swings moving rhythmically as if pushed by unseen hands. Then, without warning, something rushed past me, a shadow blurred by the dim light. I felt cold fingers grip my ankle, pulling me down. A shadowy face emerged from within the darkness, grin wide, eyes glowing eerily. "Help me," it taunted, and just as I thought I would scream, everything went black again. I woke with a start, gripping the dirt and leaves beneath me. My heart raced as reality rushed back in. I was still in the woods, but everything was different now. The air felt heavier, thick with an unshakable dread. I couldn't tell how long I had been out, but the memories of the laughing shadows haunted me. Pushing myself up, I quickly scanned my surroundings. The shadows were gone, but a strange sense of foreboding lingered, like a wet blanket smothering my senses. My flashlight lay a few feet away, and I scrambled for it, desperate to bring some light into this nightmare. I turned it on, and the beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the space around me. There was no sign of the child or those twisted figures, just the deep shadows of the trees and a silence that felt wrong. Panic flared again. I turned back towards the direction that the child had gone. "Hello?" I called, my voice shaky. "Are you there?" Silence answered. A rustle in the leaves echoed from my left, and before I could react, something scuttled across the forest floor. I shone my light in its direction, but only saw the wind trembling the branches overhead. It was as if the whole forest held its breath, waiting for something to happen. I stood there, momentarily frozen, until another voice broke the silence. A soft, pleading whisper that drifted through the trees. "Please, don't leave me." It was unmistakably the child again. My heart hardened with resolve. I had to find them. I cautiously stepped deeper into the woods, following the sound, each crack of a twig underfoot amplifying my growing anxiety. As I walked, the whisper grew louder, yet the boy remained just out of sight. I forced myself to keep moving forward, fueled by fear and desperate need to help. "I'm coming," I yelled, trying to project courage into my voice. Then the air shifted, and suddenly I felt a chill like ice slicing through my veins. It wasn't just the cool night breeze, it was something else. In the shadows, I saw a flicker of movement. A figure crouched low, nearly invisible among the trees. Its eyes shone like two pale flames. I froze. The thing looked toward me, and I could hardly breathe. Its face was a grotesque mask, twisted and hollowed out like a reflection of pure despair. Then, in an unsettling calm, it stood and took a step closer. "Help me," it echoed in a hollow tone. My legs finally reacted, screaming at me to run. I turned sharply, racing back the way I had come. The whispers turned into a cacophony. A multitude of voices enveloped me, clamoring for help. "Go back," one voice shouted, but it was too late. I burst into the clearing with the playground, but now it felt impossibly distorted, towering over me like a dark monument of nightmares. The swings creaked as if mocking my fear. I turned, surveying the area frantically. They were still there, dark shapes moving closer. But what caught my eye was a glint of metal at the base of the slide. It seemed misplaced, almost intentionally pointing me toward it. Before I could question the urge, I dashed toward it, driven by a mix of instinct and desperation. But just as I reached out, something icy gripped my wrist tight from behind. The shrieks turned into laughter, melting together into a chilling tune. "Help us!" they cried, and the world spun wildly around me. I felt as if the ground had vanished beneath my feet. Then everything went dark again. I awoke again, this time on the cold, hard ground. The air was heavy with an eerie silence, and my flashlight flickered, filling me with dread. I reluctantly turned it on, the beam revealing the playground, now twisted and monstrous in the shadows. What had just happened? My wrist throbbed where it had been gripped, and everything felt unreal. I pushed myself up, shaking off the disorientation. Panic wrapped around my throat like a vice. I couldn't go back through that darkness. Taking a deep breath, I stood and turned toward the path that led back to the road. My heart raced as I stepped cautiously, every sound magnified in the unnerving stillness. But as I reached the edge of the clearing, I caught sight of something moving near the trees, a small figure just beyond the reach of my light. "Is that you?" I called out. "Are you okay?" My voice trembled, and the response was a soft, heart-wrenching sob. I took a step forward. "I'm coming," I said, hoping with all my might that it was the child. But as I moved closer, my flashlight caught a glimpse of the thing hiding in the shadows. It looked like the boy, but his face was gaunt, his eyes wide and dark, full of fear, yet somehow distant. He wasn't right. "Help me," he whispered again, a broken plea that sent chills racing down my spine. I took a step forward. "I'm coming," I said, hoping with all my might that it was the child. But as I moved closer, my flashlight caught a glimpse of the thing hiding in the shadows. It looked like the boy, but his face was gaunt, his eyes wide and dark, full of fear, yet somehow distant. He wasn't right. "Help me," he whispered again, a broken plea that sent chills racing down my spine. I took a step forward. "I'm coming," I said. But as I moved closer, my flashlight caught a glimpse of the thing hiding in the shadows. It looked like the boy, but his face was gaunt, his eyes wide and dark, full of fear, yet somehow distant. He wasn't right. "Help me," he whispered again, a broken plea that sent chills racing down my spine. I took a step forward. "I'm coming," I said. But as I moved closer, my flashlight caught a glimpse of the thing hiding in the shadows. It looked like the boy, but his face was gaunt, his eyes wide and dark, full of fear, yet somehow distant. He wasn't right. "Help me," he whispered again, a broken plea that sent chills racing down my spine. "Do you need help?" I asked, straining to keep my voice steady. I scanned the area, but I felt eyes watching me from the trees. Unease clawed at my chest. "Help me." The boy's tone shifted abruptly from pleading to desperate.
I felt compelled to move closer, but instinct told me to back away. This wasn't the child I had been following. "No, stay back," I yelled, retreating. I stumbled, falling hard against the ground as laughter echoed from the trees. It was everywhere now, a haunting melody swirling around me. I sprang to my feet, fighting against the fear that gripped me. The shadows around the playground shifted again, darker, almost solid. I could see the figures now, those twisted shapes I had seen before. They were moving, swaying gently as if they were woven into the very fabric of the darkness. "Run!" I shouted at myself, but my feet wouldn't cooperate. I glanced back at the boy, who had become no more than a shadow. As I took another step back, I saw something glinting from the corner of my eye. An old, rusted saw. I hadn't noticed it before, half buried in the dirt. My heart raced at the thought of what it symbolized, what it could mean. I picked it up instinctively, and just as the shadow figures began to close in, I swung the flashlight wildly, illuminating the chaos that surrounded me. The whispers crescendoed into frenzied screams, a storm of voices rising. "Help us!" they cried again, this time more urgent. I turned to run, desperate to leave this nightmare behind. But as I sprinted toward the woods, my foot caught on something. Falling hard, I felt my fingers digging into the ground, touching the cold earth. "Don't leave," a voice hissed low as shadows converged around me. That's when I saw it, a path leading deeper into the darkness, yet somehow lit by a faint glow. My breathing quickened. I had to decide.
The faint glow beckoned me, almost inviting, a contrast to the murky shadows of the playground. My heart pounded in my chest, urging me to make a choice. The darkness loomed behind me, whispering threats I couldn't comprehend. Instinct compelled me to run toward the light. I dashed down the path, the rusted saw gripped tightly in my hand, as if it could protect me. The branches scratched at my arms, the underbrush tugged at my legs, but I pressed on, the glow growing brighter. As I ran, the laughter faded into the distance, replaced by an unnatural silence. The light ahead pulsated gently, revealing the way like a beacon. I stumbled into a small clearing, and my breath caught at the sight. In front of me stood an old signpost, the wood weathered and splintered, pointing in different directions. One arm read "Safety," while another said "Danger." The third was marked simply "Home." Confusion swirled inside of me. How was this possible? None of this made sense. My fingers brushed against the sign, feeling the rough texture. I could feel eyes watching me again, but this time from the woods beyond the clearing. I had to decide quickly. "Which way?" I muttered, glancing back. The shadows still hovered even at the edge of the trees, their shapes shifting. I could sense them waiting, hungry for my fear. Suddenly, an ear-piercing shriek cut through the air. I spun around, my heart racing even faster. In the darkness, a figure emerged, tall, lanky, and shrouded in shadows. Its eyes gleamed red like glowing coals. "Choose," it hissed, its voice a chilling rasp. "Choose?" I repeated, my voice shaking. I was paralyzed, my mind reeling. I didn't want to engage with this thing. "You must choose," it insisted, stepping closer. The air turned electric, crackling with tension. I felt the weight of the decision trapping me. I could either flee down the path marked "Safety" or confront whatever dangers lay ahead toward home. Another loud crack echoed behind me. I turned just in time to see more shadows breaking free from the trees, rushing towards me. The urgency overwhelmed me. I needed to move. I pointed to the sign marked "Safety." "I choose that one." But no sooner had I spoken than I felt the ground shift beneath me. The shadows twisted and curled upward, merging into a swirling mass, angry and loud. The laughter erupted again, and I was thrown off balance, tumbling forward. In a desperate attempt to regain my footing, I swung the flashlight in a wide arc. Then it all went dark, the light extinguished as I hit the ground. I could feel the whispers close in around me, setting my heart racing again. "You shouldn't have chosen that," they murmured, their voices low and mocking. Suddenly, I found myself staring into the eyes of the boy from before. But this time he wasn't pleading. This time his gaze drilled into mine with a knowing intensity. That's when I realized I wasn't just trapped in the dark. I had opened a door I couldn't close. And now I had to find a way to escape this nightmare once and for all. I jolted awake once more, this time in a familiar setting, the dim light of my own living room. The air tasted stale, and an unsettling quiet enveloped me. The shadows I had faced were now just terrifying echoes of a nightmare that it felt all too real. But something deep inside whispered that it was far from over. I sat up, the worn couch beneath me offering little comfort. My heart thundered as memories flooded back. The flashes of figures, the laughter, and that desperate child's voice pleading for help. Glancing around, I took stock of my surroundings, my framed photos, scattered papers, and the dim glow of streetlights peeking through the curtains. It felt normal, yet the unease nestled in my gut reminded me it wasn't. With shaky hands, I reached for my phone, searching for reassurance in reality. A barrage of notifications blinked before me, but one stood out, a message from my unknown number. "You'll start seeing it when it's close." Goosebumps prickled my skin, and dread washed over me. Had I truly escaped, or was the darkness still lurking, awaiting my return? I stood up, the room spinning slightly as I adjusted to my surroundings. Moving to the window, I peered out into the stillness of the night. My street lay quiet, and yet, as I scanned the shadows, a flicker caught my eye, a flicker that felt familiar. It was there again, just at the edge of the thicket behind my house. "Not again," I muttered, backing away. My heart raced. Fear clawed at my insides, but curiosity lingered at the edges of my thoughts. What did it want from me? That child's voice echoed in my mind, intertwining with the whispers, a mix of desperation and chaos. The gravity of my choices slammed into me as I retreated to the couch. There was something I still had to confront. The legacies of my encounters didn't just vanish, they lurked, waiting to awaken. Maybe it was all in my mind, or maybe not. The truth felt elusive, a slippery shadow. After a restless hour, I couldn't ignore it. I found myself drawn outside, slipping into my shoes as if compelled by a force I couldn't explain. Gritting my teeth against the cold, I stepped out, the night air biting against my skin. I could do this. I had to face what haunted me. Approaching the edge of the woods, my flashlight flickered back to life, and I hesitated. The trees loomed like sentinels, the darkness thick and pondering, but I pressed forward with determination. I felt a twinge of fear, doubt mingling with my resolve. Would this be another looping nightmare, or could I somehow find closure? "Hello?" My voice wavered, breaking the silence. No, just the rustle of leaves and the heartbeat of the night. I took a deep breath and stepped further into the woods. As if on cue, the shadows started to shift, swirling around me like an impending storm. And then I heard it, a child's voice, familiar yet distant, calling my name. "Help me!" came the desperate plea, echoing through the trees. I felt my heart drop, every instinct pressing me to flee, but I pushed onward. "Where are you?" I shouted, desperate to make sense of it all. I flicked the flashlight toward the sound, and it illuminated the thin outline of a figure standing in the pale glow way deeper in the woods. It looked like the child. "Help me," it whispered again, lost and small. Trembling, I approached, each step heavy with trepidation. The figure's eyes met mine, hollow, searching, pleading. Was it a trick of the light, or were the shadows here to taunt me once again? I reached out instinctively, but the child turned abruptly, vanishing into the darkness. "Wait!" I called, the words slipping from my lips like a desperate prayer. I raced after the fleeting form, pushing further into the shadows, abandoning all doubt as the laughter began to rise again, overlapping my heartbeat. It rattled around me, filling the hollow spaces of the woods, a cacophony of voices that twisted my thoughts and fears. Then, suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A tangible weight fell over the air, suffocating once more. I whipped around, and there it was, a figure, towering and grotesque, just on the periphery of my vision. I choked back a scream, the realization crashing over me like a wave that I could never wake from. It knew me. It had been waiting all along. Yet as it stepped closer, demanding my attention, I felt an unexpected surge of courage. The whispers echoed, "You have to choose." But what could I choose when both paths filled me with dread? "Leave me alone!" I shouted into the night, channeling all my fear and defiance. The shadows hesitated, as if they were thrown off balance. The boy's face lingered in my mind, and something stirred within me. I wouldn't cower back into the depths of despair. With the flashlight trembling in my grip, I surged forward, illuminating the darkness that threatened to swallow me whole. "I'm not afraid of you," I declared, forcing each word from my lips. My breath hitched as the figure paused, uncertainty hanging in the air between us. Then a sudden stillness fell, a peace amidst the chaos. Were we at an impasse, I wondered, as my heart raced at the possibilities. Whatever choice lay ahead seemed to shimmer in the silence. But my thoughts remained a mess, the intricate threads of doubt weaving through the fabric of reality. Just what was real here? Was it a mere trick of the mind, or something deeply profound, haunting me forever? I didn't know. As I backed away, the shadows shifted, melding into the forest again. My heart raced as I turned, racing back through the underbrush, desperate to escape whatever darkness had enraptured me. The child's voice faded, the shadows retreating as I raced toward safety. I stumbled out onto the familiar road, gasping for air. The stars above twinkled like distant memories, stark against the retreating clouds. Everything felt still, but I knew that the night would never fully let me go. I paused at the edge of my yard, glancing back toward the woods that whispered promises of darkness, a strange ache of yearning distracting me from the fear. I could still feel it lingering there, just beyond my view. The question remained, would I ever truly escape, or would the fear of returning always haunt the edges of my thoughts? I moved to my house, finally closing the door against everything outside. But deep down, the battle was unresolved. I could still hear the whispers, the echoes of shadowy figures, and the child's plea for help. This wasn't over, and I couldn't shake the feeling that somehow, somewhere, it was all just beginning.